Okay, this is going to be my recording for my submission for Archiethon. I'm going to be playing Bionicle the game, which is a old platformer from 2003 that came out on PC and a bunch of the consoles that were out at that time. I'm playing on the GameCube version of the game, because there's some kind of glitches and some tech in that version of the game that don't exist in other games, and it's the most popular version that the game is run on. So I'm going to start up a new game. The timer should begin as soon as I enter the level on Tahu. And then I'll start explaining what's going on with the game as we go. So we enter the game, and then immediately what we have to do is exit the game, because the only way to skip this cutscene is by exiting the game and re-entering the game. So that's what we'll be doing. And then there we go, loading into Tahu. So this is Bionicle the game. It is based loosely on the Bionicle movie that came out around about the same time, and it tells the story of kind of the 6 original cast of Bionicles, which is like a Lego product of these little robots that you make out of Lego Technic pieces, if you're not familiar. It's kind of like a 3D action platformer. The text boxes, when you trigger them in this game, are unskippable and very slow, as that demonstrated. So what we're doing here is attempting to kind of skirt around the side of the level to not trigger that text box hitbox, just like that. Some of the text boxes are unskippable, and so are most of the cutscenes in this game, so there's going to be a bunch of downtime for kind of triggered text boxes and cutscenes that we can't skip, which will be perfect for donation reads and such. Here's another text box. This one is unfortunately unskippable. And then here's our first enemy, they're called the Rahi, these little insect creatures. Well, they're all called types of Rahi, all the different enemies. So we have a jump and a double jump. We also have a shield, and we have a shot that we can shoot. And then the Toa each have like a special ability that they can press using Y as well. Toa Tahu is kind of the most basic Toa. We're just going to be kind of jumping and shooting our way through this level. You'll notice whenever I take damage or whenever I press a shot, the little kind of life bar shows up in the top left corner of the screen. The 4 dots along the top are my health, and the orange bar is my energy. So I need to have energy in order to shoot shots with the gun. You replenish energy by shielding enemy shots and also by picking up full healths and energy pickups and such. These little green guys that we're collecting are called Matoran. In a lot of the levels there's a bit of a collectathon aspect where we have to grab all of the Matoran in order to unlock the final boss. So that's what a lot of this level is. It's going to be quite linear, and we're just going to be working through grabbing the Matoran and then doing the final boss. Again, trying not to die and trying not to get hit very often, because dying is very slow and getting hit stutters you and makes you lose your momentum a lot of the time. So I took that corner a bit too tight and did die, and you'll see kind of a long loading animation, but that respawned is right there, so it's all fine. We trigger this cutscene, and he's providing us with some of the narrative around what's going on in this game, what we have to do. So yeah, rescue the Matoran to help. So I'll be continuing through this level to kind of reach all the Matoran that we need. But yeah, you play as each of the 6 Toa in this game. They each have kind of a different ability, and each of the levels has a different gimmick that goes along with that. Toa Tahu is kind of the most straightforward one. We're sort of just kind of playing the level and making our way through. Here's the first sort of mini-boss that we encounter, who is this big scorpion guy. We're going to be jumping along and shielding his shots and shooting him when we get to the end. We can cancel the cooldown of our shot animation by like walking just after shooting. So it's going to be a lot of like walking and shooting once we are in range to shoot him. Looks like he's going to line up a shot on us there, but it's okay, we get the shield. As soon as that ring appears, that means we can lock on to him, and there we go, that's the 3 shots. What I'm doing in this cutscene is holding to the left, because where the cutscene puts us at the end is right next to a lava pit, and it's actually quicker for us to run into the lava and respawn at the end of this path than it is to jump along it. So we're going to take that death there, respawn next to this Matoran, and then carry on with the level. So again, trying to avoid as much of the Rahi as we can, because if we bounce into them or if they shoot us, they are going to cause us to slow down. And we enter into this kind of combat arena where we find the last Matoran of this level. So here we have 5 out of 5, and we just need to clear these enemies to get back to the final boss now. So we have these 4 scorpions spawning up on these big pillars, and what we want to do is knock down all of those pillars to crush the scorpions before that we can fight them. There's two guys down there. Unfortunately, the first Scorpion does jump down before we can actually hit its pillar, so we're going to be forced to fight him. But what I'm going to do is run around the edge, shoot those three, and then shoot that before the Scorpion jumps off, and we can kill him early and not have to fight him as well. And now we've got the Matorum, we're teleported back to where that cutscene was earlier, and we're opening up the gate to the final boss. So here we go. And now we've got that gate open, so we're just going to come around here and hit a double jump to get over. I'm going to grab this mask, because I saw I was only on 2 health, just to make sure that we have full health and full energy going into the boss for this level. The bosses in the first couple of levels are these creatures called the Bow-Rock. They kind of curl up into balls and spin around and shoot at you. I'm going to be trying to spam some shots off as soon as they pop up to try and get a couple of like early shots. I think I only got 1 there. We're aiming for 2, and then what we want to do is shield the shots and shoot at them when they come out of this rolling mode. So that orange bar below our health is energy, and that's what we need to spend in order to shoot. If we shield enemy shots, it does replenish our energy, so we're going to try and shield as much as we can, whilst also firing shots off. There's a bit of RNG here because the Borak can take some slower animations as well as some quicker ones. That is an example of a slower one where he burrows under the ground instead of just kind of spinning around. So we hope not to see too many of those, and instead what we want to see is this ones where they just kind of stand up. I unfortunately did not get a shot in there because I was too concerned about trying to replenish my energy, but that is okay. And there we go, the last one now. Just have to get him a few times. And there we go, that is Toa Tahu complete. We do have another cutscene at the end here to sit through, which again is just going to give us a bit more information about the story that's going on.
I must tell the others. Chronicler, sightseeing, are you?
Toa Tahu, I was investigating the totems and saw a great Kanoe mask floating on the lava.
You should return to the Koro. It's dangerous here.
And that's going to be level 1. And then very quickly going to move into Toa Kopaka, who is the Tower of Ice. And the gimmick in this level is that we're going to be snowboarding down a big hill for the whole time. So it's a very, very different style of gameplay. We don't really have as much of the kind of freedom or as much of the platforming. It's much more kind of like a racing game and a bit of an auto-scroller, but obviously we are in control of the routes and lines that we take, so it certainly isn't as fixed as that. But yeah, a lot of what's going on here is going to be trying to take as optimal lines as we can to avoid getting popped too high into the air, because that's where the majority of our time loss is going to come from. That and also bonking on the walls. So very quickly here, I'm going to be going for a trick called Super Jump. I missed it unfortunately, but essentially if we can jump onto that corner, then there'll be a bit of terrain that we can get another jump on, which lets us kind of preserve momentum a bit more and save a little bit of time. And yeah, we're just going to be kind of going through here, trying to stay as grounded as we can, and then hitting these little green teleporty looking things, which are like boost gates, so they'll give us a bit of speed if we hit them. As you can see demonstrated there, hitting a dodgy bit of terrain can just instantly kill all of your momentum and make things get very slow, very suddenly. So it's really important that we take good lines through this level, especially later on, where we're going to be doing a couple of boss fights that are on a bit of a timer, so it's going to be very important to make sure that we keep up with the bosses in order to kill them before they time out and give us a game over, which is something that can happen. It just kind of resets you at the start of the fight. So yeah, just moving through here, again trying not to hit too much of the terrain that's looking very jagged and going to bump us up into the air. In here, I'm going to take a very specific line, because if we rub too close to this wall, it can make the camera freak out a bit, and when that happens, the game has a chance to crash at the next cutscene, which is really fun. I avoided it there, thankfully, but yeah, a bit scary if you do get the dodgy camera there, because it can mean that the game is not going to be very nice at the end of this segment. There's a few spots in this game where the game can crash for various reasons. I prepared a bunch of save states for the marathon, so that if that does happen, we can kind of very quickly just load back in and pick up where we left off to avoid having to abandon or restart any runs. Just to make sure that if we do get soft locked or if the game crashes, I can still showcase the rest of what's going on. So here's the end of the first Kopaka section, and now we're going to be going into the first boss fight of Kopaka, which is essentially a race against a Borok. It's very important here to take very fast lines and make sure that we, you know, can, as quickly as possible, kill the Boroks. They all have kind of quick kill minimum cycles, which is going to generally be 3 shields, which that's what I'll be aiming for both of these, and specifically in the second one, 3 shields. That happens before it starts burrowing under the ground, because once it burrows underground, it's a little while before it pops back up, and we lose quite a lot of time there. There's a forced first-person mode going on in this section for some reason. Not really too sure what's going on with that. It's a bit random, and before the boss fight, it actually pops you back out of it. It's just kind of only for this section you've got that forced first-person going on. We're going to come up on the left here, and then drift across to the right to try and very quickly... That's exactly what we want to see, a fast pop-up of that Borok, and then down here try and hit him up again. So we can hit him 3 times, if we're very careful with our timing. That's the fastest I've ever killed that, pretty much exactly how you'd want it to go. You do have to delay your shot slightly after it pops up, because he is slightly invincible as soon as he pops up, so you're not going to really be doing much good if you just spam shots immediately. So it's a slight wait, followed by spamming some shots in order to kill it.
You have saved our Koro, and we thank you.
So that's mini boss 1, and now we're going to go into another more regular kind of snowboarding section.
The path down the mountain is most treacherous. There have been many unnatural landslides there of late. Take care.
I will do my sworn duty.
So what we're doing next is we're going to come up to the side here to trigger this cutscene early, where the other Borok is going to push a boulder down the hill after us. And this is just going to be a bit of a kind of escape sequence. It shoots out these like smaller boulders, which are on a fixed cycle, so there's no RNG we have to react to here. And if you generally kind of hug this wall, you will avoid sort of most of them. You want to make sure you don't really get hit by many, because they will cause you to lose speed. However, there's like a minimum time that you're in this section for, so if you get hit by 1 or 2, I actually don't think it really loses you any time. But yeah, the screen shake's a bit ridiculous here, apologies for that, but we're just going to be kind of escaping where we can, and there we go. That is the end of that section. We're now loading into the second Borok fight, which is the much more difficult one, and also the one that is much more punishing if you mess it up. So I'm going to be trying to focus up a little bit here, just to make sure that I hit as many of the early hits as I can. But it's going to look very similar to the fight that we just did, in that there's going to be a bit of a sort of general movement through terrain section, and then the Borok is going to appear, and we're going to be trying to shoot it up and shooting it a bunch of times as quickly as we can, sort of before it reaches the bottom of the level, because if it reaches the bottom of the level, as I've said, we'll get kind of a game over and have to go right back to the start of the fight, which is not ideal. So yeah, just kind of coming through here, we should see it start to burrow up next to us. It did pop me into the air a little bit there, which is a bit annoying. So you can hear from the screams how many times you hit it, so that was thankfully 3 hits there. Unfortunately, I've not really got a good line to kind of bump it again here. So I got 2 hits. It is going to enter the burrowing section, unfortunately, which is right here. So what he now does is burrows underground. And this is kind of scary, but what we just need to make sure happens is that I don't lose too much time by getting knocked up into the air, and I can quickly sort of knock him up again and just grab those last 2 hits that I need. And there we go. Not an optimal Kopaka by any means, but we made it through. The first fight was particularly clean as well, which is good.
Must return to the others at once.
And that is going to be Kopaka finished. So next we're moving into Galley, which is one of the most fun, but also one of the most difficult levels in the run. So what's going on here with Galley is she is the Toa of water. So we have swimming movement and big jumps out of water, which is the main way that we're going to get around. And we can use that with the terrain in very funky ways to kind of zip around quite quickly and also get out of bounds to do some skips. So once we get into Galley, we'll be able to showcase some of that.
Do not fear. My Nuva power can overcome any obstacle.
So here we go. Immediately we're going to be taking this line off to the side to go straight to this first Matoran. We are unfortunately going to hit a text box here that's just going to explain to us how to use the swim ability. So hold Y to swim fast, and then double jump to leap out of the water. So that's a lot of what we're going to see. So I'm going to try and hit a jump here, which should teleport us up to the top. If you jump out of the water against certain terrain, you will get shot up high like that, which is going to save a lot of time. And then after grabbing those, we're immediately going to come down here and try and go out of bounds through like a lineup on this wall. There is a Rahi there that can be quite troublesome, so if I don't get this first try, I often like to shoot him to make sure he's not going to kill me, basically. So then we go through here, and we're going to try and hit a lineup to grab this Matoran under the water. That's very good. We need to try and not hit the ground here while we grab that second one. Perfect. So both of those Matorans trigger a text box for you, but the game can only have one loaded at once. So by grabbing them both without hitting the ground, we skip the second text box, which is much quicker. Is a much longer one, so we don't have to sit through that one. This text box up here is unskippable, but that 2 Matorans there is about as quick as we could have hoped for that. So she's going to tell us to go dive down into the abyss. I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to walk into this wall and hold Y, and it should clip us out of bounds if you get the lineup right. It's a little precise, but it's not too bad. What is annoying is trying to figure out how the hell to get back out of water when you don't get it right, because it's not really the most intuitive thing to control. But there we go, 3rd time's the charm. So we can swim all the way through here, and then again just come up here and head towards this Matoran. And we've got a couple more over here. So again, we're going to be going up against this terrain and holding jump and fast swim to kind of try and teleport up there and hit this person. So next we're going to go for a Nuva Blast, which is Galley's special ability. I'm trying to get shot here to get some iframes so that we can do this without the worry of getting shot. So the Nuva Blast there is going to kill everything and also open that purple shield to free that Matoran. And then we're going to be trying to jump up here. We want to collect him without landing on the ground, because again, that Matoran gives us a text box. Text boxes do not persist through cutscenes, so as long as we get through to this cutscene without hitting the ground, we've then skipped that text box again. So we're now moving into the final section of the run, of the level, sorry, where again, we're going to grab a little Matoran up here and continue making our way through. There's 13 in total, so only 2 left to get, and we're pretty close to the end of the level now. The boss fight at the end of Galley is very similar to the boss fight at the end of Tahu, in that there's going to be a bunch of Borok that are spinning around us that we're going to have to dispatch of to finish the level. Okay, so I need to get a bit of a lineup here to get a water jump out of here in order to kind of quickly get up there. It might take me a little bit to line it up. There we go. So that's the last Matoran got there. We're just going to make our way to the end. So as I've said, very similar boss fight to Tahu, in that there's going to be a bunch of Borok circling around us that we need to dispatch of. Preceded by quite a long cutscene that we're going to start now, where this whale is getting summoned. All the Matoran get inside. I don't really understand why. And then off we go. So as I've said, the way you're supposed to play this boss fight is the exact same way that you're supposed to play Tahu's boss fight. However, we have the Nuva Blast now, which, if we charge it up as soon as the fight starts, we can get a quick kill on every single one of them and end the fight instantly. It's pretty good. That's Gali.
Something else?
Chronicler.
So next we're going to be going into like
Strange.
Pohatu.
Dark and
After this cutscene. Pohatu is another kind of auto-scrollery, kind of racery level. So we're going to load into that quickly. Now there is a cutscene at the start here that is very long, so we're going to try and avoid triggering that by jumping up onto the side like this. And trying to get some really tightly timed jumps over the side terrain to not trigger that cutscene. This should be good, yeah. And then we're just going to jump down here. Unfortunately, they do kind of lull you into the false sense of security that this will just be a normal, nice platforming level by giving you this start. But then we get up here and there is a bit of a bait and switch. So this collapses and we fall down into a mine shaft, which is all good. It's a really good scream. So yeah, Pohatu, even more auto-scrollery than Kopaka's level. Once this cutscene ends, we're going to get loaded onto a minecart, and we're going to see, essentially have to drive around this race. As it's being explained, we have to ride around on this minecart and hit 6 locks to exit the level. If you miss a lock, you have to do the whole route again. So we're going to really try very hard to 1, not die, and 2, not miss any locks. You have to do a second lap of the entire level if you miss one, which is not good. The minecart is powered by our energy, so you'll see our orange bar gradually depletes throughout the level. If that reaches 0, we die. There's the first one. You can hit that early by grabbing it over the side there, which is nice. But yeah, so 6 things like that. If you bonk a wall, you lose a lot of speed. These green things help restore our orange bar, so I'll be grabbing a couple of them to make sure it doesn't get too low. There's number 2. It's optimal to jump up the uphills, because going uphill loses you a bit of speed here. But that can cause some kind of timing difficulties, so I'm not going to be going for that every time. But on sections where it's not really near a switch, or when it's kind of easy to do, I will be jumping up hills. So there's number 3. I'm going to try and get this. Nice. Some of them are quite tricky to grab, because they deliberately put them in front of obstacles and such, so it's hard to get one and then not hit an obstacle. But we seem to be doing okay so far. I'm going to jump and grab that full health there. I missed it, unfortunately, but that does fully refill your orange bar as well as your health, so it can be really handy to get. I don't really understand why you lose all your speed going around this corner, but it seems to happen to me very frequently. So we're at 4 out of 6 now. Again, there's not a lot going on here. This level is also going to be another good time for kind of donation reads, or just sort of messaging about the event in general. The only sort of thing actually of note is coming up. I missed that mask, which kind of sucks, but we have full energy anyway. The only thing kind of note coming up is right here, which is these 5 axes, which are notoriously horrible, because, as you see, I've lost a lot of speed here, trying not to get hit by them. There are fast strats that help you jump over some of those and not have to shoot as many, but it's very tricky, and if you bonk one of them, you're losing a lot of time, which is not great. So now there's just one more switch that we need to look out for, and then we make it to the end of the level. And there it is. So this should be 6 out of 6 if we grab this absolutely brilliantly, and away we go. So yeah, pretty clean Pohatu. Another quite long cutscene here setting up Onua. I'm going to use that to discuss a bit what's going on with Onua, because Onua is by far the most broken and silly level in the whole game. We're basically going to spend the entire level kind of out of bounds, and weaving around and figuring out where to go, doing a lot of blind travel where you can't see terrain around you that can kill you, which is pretty fun. So yeah, I'll explain a bit more about that as we get into it. But yeah, that's going to be Onua. We just kind of have this long cutscene here, which sets up the end of Pohatu and the start of Onua. We get knocked down this hole. And here we go into Onua. So immediately we're going to be met with the gimmick of Onua, which is these rocks. These big stones that you have to push onto these platforms to do various things. In this case, it's to open a door. And if you shield these bugs, if you shield those bugs, it can crash your game. So you have to just kind of like take it there. We're going to let that door close and immediately turn around and start going out of bounds. So we're going to just kind of jam ourselves into the door at this very specific angle here, and it should let me through. There we go. And then we want to be on this side. We want to jump up here and then do a couple of jumps. That is not what you want to see. If you clip back into this side of the level, you do unfortunately just have to jump in the water and restart the level. But thankfully, because the out of bounds is right near the start, it's not too awful if that happens to you. But yeah, we want to be right up against the left side of that wall, but without pushing ourselves back inbounds. So we're gonna... Okay. Jumping back inbounds this way, not an issue. You just go into the door again. That's a problem. But that's okay. As I've said, there's going to be room in the estimate to account for this, because this is a pretty silly level. But that's absolutely fine. I'm going to shoot a couple of these Rahi, just so that they can't shoot me when I'm trying to get out of bounds, because that can make things a bit more difficult. But yeah, as I've said before, we make it across to the second coin to ensure that the door is shut, and then we go through. You want to make sure we're on the left side, get all the way up here, and then we want to spam a couple of jumps at a specific angle that's going to get us out of bounds over the top. Bit easier said than done. There we go. Okay, so now we're out of bounds. And the rest of the level's pretty much going to look like this. Where we're going to be going up the edge of these corridors, and then when we reach the end of the corridors, we're going to be like just flying over the void. So when you're over the void, you kind of just do nothing. Water insta-kills you, and water does not load in unless you are right next to it. So that's the real fun here. We're going to do a slight blind steer here. We're going to have to be like really careful, because when Onua goes dark, that means you're close to water. There we go. Very, very close to that water. Oh my goodness. If you hit any of this, you go back to the start of the level, for reference. So it's really, really important that that does not happen. We're going to jump. Not really in bounds here, but like kind of into that door to try and load in the next part of the level. We did hit the loading zone because that door is there, thankfully. And then here is a tricky jump where we're essentially going to use our single jump to try and get as much height as we can whilst not pressing our double jump yet, and steering over here. What we need to do is then jam ourselves under this door and use our double jump to clip back onto the ground, but stay out of bounds in order to traverse over here. So hitting that first try is very fortunate. And then again, we're going to be kind of... We are out of bounds here, even though it doesn't really look it. I cannot see anything. It's too bright and it's a dark level. But there is a lineup that we're using here. I think it's here. And then jump back out of bounds and skip to the end of the level. I am going to have to play this game with like my curtains completely shut in the dark, because the lighting on it is so bad. But there we go. So that pillar there hits a loading zone for us, and then we are going to just... I didn't hit the loading zone. That is interesting. Hello? Maybe it's that pillar there. This is something. Right, okay, this should be fine, right? Yeah, okay, here we go. We clip back in bounds here. You can continue to stay out of bounds the whole way here, but what's coming up is going to be a very tight jump that kills us if we miss it. And if you don't go back in bounds, you don't get a checkpoint, and then that death means that you go back to the beginning of the level, which is really cool. So once you see Onua kind of twitch a bit there, that means that the next area is loaded. You're going to see this green, like, fumes thing in the corner of the screen, so we're going to kind of just travel forwards and keep that roughly in like about a third of the screen to the left. You'll see a couple of them kind of coming in and out here. What we have coming up here is the 5-framer death jump, which is how we're going to get back in bounds. So we have a 5-frame jump window, which gets us into the final boss. That's what happens when you don't get it. So that's why I took this checkpoint, because otherwise you go right the way back to the start of the level. And what we've got going on now is I'm going to hit a safety strat instead. So rather than go that way, I'm going to just enter the boss the way we're supposed to. It doesn't lose a lot of time. The main reason it loses any time at all is that you hit a cutscene, which is very long and unskippable. Classic. So, because I messed up that, we're going to go for a backup here, rather than trying to hit that 5-frame strat again, where you can see that wall that we're headed for there. Have to do a bit of a blind steer and trust that you're going the right way, and yeah, just jump back in bounds here, and this is the final boss. First boss that is not a Bow-Rock. This is a Rakshi, I think it's called. And what we're doing here is, essentially we have more of these stones. We have to push them onto the these chambers, and then that shoots them at the boss. So the movement you have with the stone is slower than your default movement, which is really cool. So like you have to do like a half push on the analog stick, otherwise you just overtake the rock and fall off it, which is not really what you want to see. So we're going to be attempting loosely to like alternate between kind of pushing one in and just pushing one up close and then moving on to the next one. We pushed that one in, so we're going to push this one up close. I think we're a little bit too slow to get this one in, unfortunately, but that's fine. We are on one hit, that's a bit concerning. So I'm going to be pressing shield a lot here to try and not die to these things burrowing in the ground. There we go, there's a good shield there. Push that in, which is really good. There is a mask over there which will give us a full health, so I'm going to be aiming for that when we get there, just for a bit of a safety strat. Unless we, sometimes you do just get like random health ups, like kind of seemingly from the air that just teleport towards you. So if I find one of those, I'm not going to stress too much, but I think I'm going to grab this mask. There we go, and then that should hopefully hit us with a timing to then be ready for this stack to pop up in a minute. And we did get hit again, so it's certainly a good job that I got that. Okay, these last two now. So I'm going to just kind of push that up there. If you push it onto the lip, it will keep it held open, so that means that we don't have to wait for it to open again. And yeah, that's Onua done. Definitely like the most difficult and janky part of the run, but we survived with kind of minimal going wrong. And now we get into Liwa, which I think is another one of the most fun levels in the game. Liwa, the Tower of Air. So the special ability we have here is going to be gliding, which is quite fun and exciting. I'm holding down because what we want to do here immediately at the start of this level is fall off the bottom of the map.
Find them, Luanuva. Find them, free them, and use the Suva to hunt for these sons of Makuta.
So yeah, we just fall off the bottom here, and then we respawn, hit a double jump. We don't unlock the glide until the next section of this level, and we actually also don't even have a shield for this part of the level. So the grinding on the like the branches here is pretty similar to how the snowboard works, sort of. We're just going to be moving along. We have 6 Matoran that we need to free to unlock the next section of the level, 3 on each of the paths. So we're doing this path now. again, I'm going to shoot both of these Rahi because, as I say, we don't have a shield. So if they shoot me, I lose a bit of health and also lose some speed. And we need to take 3 hits of intentional damage in this section. We've already taken the one, so as you may be able to tell, that'll mean we lead on 1 HP. So if we get shot once, we will die when we take the last bit of intentional damage, which doesn't actually really ruin anything, but it does mean that you lose a little bit of time watching kind of like the death and respawn animation. So we're going to still avoid trying to get hit there. So there's our last Matoran for this section. So what we're going to do here is avoid that bouncer and just go straight over the edge, fall off, and then again at the end of this section, the quickest way to return back here is to just jump off, which is why we want to have 2 HP here, so that we can take that hit and not have to worry about the death and respawn animations. We're going to be jumping over these kind of spiky plant things, and there'll be just the last Matoran coming up here. So we got him, that is 6 out of 6, so then now we get to the end of here, and we just have to jump off. We're then going to get an animation play out, which shows the next section opening, and this is where we're going to unlock the glide. So yeah, we're just going to turn around and head back. We're going to do a single jump up here because we want to preserve our double jump. Do a well-timed double jump here, and then input a glide. And this skips the text box right at the start of the screen that teaches us how the glide works, which is quite a long one. And then we're going to be doing just a lot of jump, double jump, glide to kind of get over here. So yeah, kind of a lot of just sort of pretty fun platforming going on. Ooh, that's unlucky. Where does that respawn me? Okay, just here. That's not too bad, actually. Yeah, there's thankfully quite very generous checkpointing in the Liwa section, so you can go for some pretty risky jumps and not really lose a lot of time if you lose them. Platforms that are like brown and leaves that are brown will kind of crumble after you land on them, whereas the ones that are green will remain, so that's something to keep in mind. We're going to again skip a bit of platforming here by just kind of jumping straight off the side, gliding to here, hitting a quick jump, double jump on here. And again going forwards and doing a very well timed glide to skip that platform and get across to here. Again, a jump and a double jump and a glide will just about be able to get us over here. There's a few pretty tight glides that we have to make here because we're skipping some platforms, but most of them are really not too bad, thankfully. We do have a strat here called Funny Rope, which I'll be going for. If you pause... Oh my goodness, I missed the rope. If you pause the game while the rope is fully extended, it will kind of like parachute you back. So if we do that twice here, we'll get a lot of height and be able to just kind of glide right towards the end of the level. Oh, I missed it. But that's okay. I at least got to exhibit what it looks like. So rather than risk that again, I am going to just kind of go up here. It only really loses about a second or two. But yeah, the rope's kind of good to show off if we could have got that. And fun to kind of really highlight some of the kind of strange, janky stuff going on in this game. There is no music. Here it is. So this strat's called Gibby. It's a jump, a very delayed double jump, and a very delayed glide, which can just barely get us over to here, which saves a lot of platforming. And then we can just kind of come out the side here. Again, do a jump, double jump, aim for this middle vine, a jump, a double jump, aim for this middle platform. And then we're aiming to kind of grab that like windmill wheel thing as it comes back. Brilliant. And then we are just going to glide straight over to this lift, which takes us down to the next section. And this is going to be the final section of Liwa before the level is over with the final boss. Don't mash A during this cutscene. 1, can't skip it. 2, if you do a small jump on this platform, it starts sending you all the way back up, which is really epic. We're going to try and avoid that platform there. We did it. And then this bubble's going to come up here. Okay, and now we're approaching the Gecko bird. There is another text box that we can skip here, which is the bird's text box. However, if you go too far when you miss it, you don't load the rest of the level, and the only way to finish the game is by starting a new one. So I'm not going to risk that. I'm just going to hit this text box. It's not too bad, but yeah, we are going to unfortunately lose a bit of time there. And then what we want to do is start a glide. It's pretty janky, I should say as well. The idea here is that if you glide behind the bird, you don't run out of glide stamina. It's pretty rough. You just have to like really follow this path. It is fixed. There's no randomness, but like the flight controls are pretty horrid. So yeah. Sometimes this platform like doesn't load, which is really good. But if you just die and respawn, it appears the second time. So that's cool. And then again, a nice timed double jump and a drift here, and it's going to get us towards the final boss. It's another Rakshi boss fight. Imagine a chessboard. Basically, we can destroy his platform by shooting it. He can destroy our platform by shooting it. What we want is for him to shoot the platforms that we're on, and then he's going to like trap himself. What on earth? I did not know that he could do that. That is unfortunate. So yeah, we want him to basically be shooting the platforms that we're on, and then we're gonna... We died. He got us. But yeah, the plan is basically to kind of pressure him into the corner there. So we want him to shoot this one, and then he's going to hopefully jump forwards, and then... So yeah, we get him to shoot ours. And then we also shoot his. There we go. Absolutely beautiful. And then yeah, that's going to be the end of Liwa. And now we basically have like the sequence into the final boss of the game, which starts by going back to Tahu Nuva to play Tahu, but in the style of Kopaka. So it's another snowboarding level, but we're snowboarding on lava because we're the fire tower. And this is a race against a Rakshi. And if they win the race, you have to do the whole level again. And they rubber band to you and they teleport in front of you, and the game just really does not want you to win this race. So it's essentially going to be like 90 seconds of not really caring what happens and just trying really hard not to lose time by bonking into walls, and then 30 seconds of like hoping he doesn't rubber band in front of you, or that if he does, you're like close enough to him that you can shoot him to stop him from winning the whole race. But yeah, here we go. So this is by far the least fun and most painful part of the whole run, and it comes right before the final boss, which is epic. If we shoot him, it slows him down a bit. If he hits us, we take damage and it slows us down a bit. We want to be in the lead the whole time. If we're in the lead, we can't really see when he's going to hit us because he'll be coming from behind, which is really sick. So I don't know where he went there. I'm not going to worry too much about it. From my experience, the way to play this fight is to just focus on your own moves. If he gets in front of you, worry about it then. But otherwise, just don't care. So yeah, we're just taking the line through the lava here. There's some crushes that we're going to avoid. So we want to take the left one, then the right one, then the left one again. Just like this. There is a mask there. You really like can't grab it, even though it looks like you can, unfortunately. Another thing I should have mentioned, should be spamming shield through this part so that the falling spikes don't just completely kill you. Yeah, just continue to take kind of as sensible a line as we can here without really like too much going on. Getting popped in the air, like with Kopaka, is really, really bad. So we're trying not to get popped up into the air much at all. Especially when we get to the end of the race, where being popped into the air could just mean we like instant lose. So I'm going to really hope that doesn't happen, but it's fine if it does. Okay, here we go. So there's like a random chance here for you to just like get teleported forwards at the bottom of this cutscene. We did not get it. And when you don't get it, what often happens is the Rakshi teleports in front of you, which also didn't happen, so that's good. Having no idea where he is or how far behind he is pretty stressful, because that means that like he might be really far behind and about to just like teleport in front of us. That shouldn't happen, but it might. It's basically the line that we're taking here. So I'm just going to be taking like the quickest route that I can, just kind of around these blocks. Again, we're going to go over here, jump over that slightly, because like a jump of our own kind of control is usually better than being popped into the air. I don't like how much speed we lost there. This is scary. It's only a couple more jumps till the end of the race now, which means this would be a really terrible time for him to overtake us, because we would not be able to do anything about it. We did it. And now we get into the final boss. Skip some cutscenes there, which basically the little blue and red guy from the start of the game, he becomes Taken Nuva, which is like the big gold tower. So we have the final boss now. He has the glide ability. He's not Liwa, he just has it. Maybe he has everyone's abilities, but you don't really have to showcase the rest of them. It's basically just like an enemy rush. It's like a boss rush kind of thing. We have like infinite energy and like infinite like energy recharge, because we basically just go beast mode. I kind of hate that these guys are like going over there, but basically we have like a bunch of phases where he's going to spawn in some enemies and we just have to dispatch of them as quickly as we can. These frogs particularly suck because they stay like really near the back, they don't come near you. We got them pretty quickly there though, must admit. Being on 2 hits is a bit stressful. So I'm going to just be shielding wherever I can, trying to kind of kill things, hoping we just get some random health spawn in, which sometimes just happens. These wasps, when they do their backflip and split into 2, they're invincible for a small period of time. There's sometimes something you can do to avoid that, but I don't really remember what it is, I'm afraid. That was quite good though. Fortunate and fast. He now is back in the middle, so we should get out of the way, and this is the last phase of this fight, where we just have to kill all of these bugs as quickly as we're able to, without, again, hopefully dying. Oh, we got a health up. That is perfectly timed, because we were on 1 hit. Okay, that's all of them. Phase 2. So phase 2, we're going to get dropped down now. Hopefully the game won't freeze. It might. It didn't freeze. Thank goodness. If we fall off the map, we restart this whole phase, so we really don't want that to happen. As the cutscene is showing us here, what we want to do is reflect his shots back at him. But what we need to do first is like disable his shield, which we will do by... He basically flips over all 4 of these platforms, we then jump on them. They light up like that, and once we hit all 4, we can shoot at him. Or rather, we can't shoot at him. He'll shoot at us and we can reflect it back. He should be shooting at us the whole time, but we can't reflect it back until we've disabled the shield. Okay, so we're going to stand here, wait for a shot, deflect it back with the shield, wait a sec, because he's going to flip the platforms yet again. Nice. So again, we're just going to jump around and hit all of these best we can. Flying across, but being kind of careful with our lines here, because as I said, if we fall off, that's going to be a couple of minutes of time lost. That's all of them. He's going to do lots of 2 shots here. There's some nuance to how you shoot them back to kind of make sure that you don't lose a bunch of time. I think I did it correctly, but I honestly could not tell you for sure. And now, he's just going to shoot at us, and then we shoot back and then shoot at him. If you stand on these for too long, they flip like that, which is terrifying, because it just knocks you off. So we're going to really like try and not get owned by flips. Okay, so we can stand on here. Hope he's going to shoot soon. I'm going to jump back, because yeah, I had a feeling that would flip. And that's time! So yeah, that's Bionicle game. It's very fun. Yeah. I mean, if obviously we do end of run spiel here. Shout out to Bionicle community. They've got some good resources. Makes the game really accessible to learn. Yeah, all that. GG game.